We're gonna cure the world of bullshit tonight. Okay?
Yeah.
We are curing the fucking world. How to save the planet, one podcast at a time.
One podcast at a time. Welcome back to the Alpha Project. I'm pumped up to be here today.
Yo, fuck everybody.
We got Parnell.
Fuck everybody and
Devin.
everything right now, okay?
Parnell's
It's all
salty.
love, guys.
Parnell's salty. Last week we went through a cool story that was going on in my life. I want to know what's happening in your life right now.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I'm not talking about this on the podcast. We could definitely have this conversation off air. Too many things are too personal to get into. But let's get into the non-personal things. All right, number one. My vehicle fucked up the other day. Turns out the differential's gone. $2,000. Don't have a car anymore. I don't have a vehicle anymore.
Fuck.
So that's gone. I just found that out today. That was number one. Last week I went into a ditch, and that was last Monday.
So is the ditch related to the differential?
No, it's not at all. And then a whole bunch of shit with my ex and my son, and holy fuck, man. I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood.
So
Like, it's either burn the fucking world down or do what I should be doing, which is being here and talking it out before I burn the world down.
Which is cool, and I'm actually really excited to see what happens as we record this, because I bet by the end of it you're gonna have a whole different tune on that.
But I doubt it.
Okay,
I doubt it.
we'll see.
But
it sounds of it too.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fire seems to be a pretty
This week,
Exactly,
this
right?
week.
Fitting
Yeah.
listen,
topic.
I'm not the only one with fucking fires to put out this week. You guys have had some shit going on. Devin's had a great fucking week, from what I've heard.
Are you fucking with me, bro? I haven't eaten for 4 days. What do you mean?
That's not my fault, dude.
So basically,
That's nobody
nothing.
else's fault but yours.
So nothing's changed. Yeah, so
Yeah,
nothing's
right.
changed in
Nothing-
Devin's
That's how
life.
you keep that.
It's
This
true
is
though,
how I
and
maintain
honestly,
this
shit comes in
girlish
waves,
figure.
and when you shit attracts more shit.
Yeah.
and
See-
it's the reality of the way things go.
You know, I thought bad things came in threes, right? So I was prepared. I was prepared for the breakup happened, and then the fucking vehicle, and then there's a couple other things that happened, and I'm like, bad things come in three. This should be done now, right? Like, it has to be done. Nope, it just keeps coming and coming and coming, man. I don't fucking get it. It's like the fires that are being started are the fires that I have no control over, which means I can't do anything about it, which means I can't feel a way about it because I have no control. The problem is, I like to be in control, especially if I'm put in situations where I like to control them.
So how do we live in the fire?
First of all, recognizing what the issue is.
Right.
Number one, not only with yourself, but also with the other people involved in the situation. All right. So for me, for the one, it was literally crying for about an hour yesterday. That was how I handled first the emotions.
So nothing's
the feeling.
changed from last
No,
week.
no,
to this week.
I cried last week in the corner over some spilled milk too, but. You know, number one was realizing in myself that I had to feel the emotion, right?
Yeah.
You guys always know it takes me 4 days to get over anything, right? I always say this, and the first thing is to be angry. But when I say be angry, it just means feel the emotion of the situation,
Right.
right? And then, you know, you have to. First of all, for me, this is how I work things out. I always work things out in my head first before I try and approach or broach the topic with anybody else. I haven't done that yet. I don't think enough
Which is
time
why
has
you're
gone.
holding it. You're playing so close to the chest.
Right, I haven't figured it out myself yet, so I can't, if I'm offering my problems, I'm going to offer the solution I think is correct before I actually ask for advice from anybody else, right?
See the problem in that
stop
thinking,
you right
though?
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's admirable. I think that's, the way most dudes especially would attack that.
The manager idea of don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a
For
solution.
sure.
Right.
However, you're going through shit. Like, if you have a problem, the whole point of having, a fucking mastermind, the whole point of having, people around in your life, stop checking out my socks, I know they're cool.
You just had to throw it in. Could we put it in before we started recording? You had to put it in.
You're staring at them. You're staring at me like
No,
it's like I got
was
titties
staring
on
at
my
your
sock.
Burberry shirt, man.
It's nice.
I like the shirt.
It's nice. It's a good fit. And you got to be able to just say, hey, here's the problem. Because honestly, in my opinion, everyone knows the answer already. The hurdle is not being able to see the solution. As soon as you start talking about it and not, thinking about it and going into chaos mode, as soon as you start voicing what's actually going on, how many times do you come in and you're like, oh, actually, fuck, I know what to do.
Okay, so you guys want to solve this for me then?
No, I want you to solve
No,
it.
we want you to solve it.
No,
but
I mean, do you want to hear the issue, and then hopefully we can come to a solution?
This is where things live with you, and this is your scope of knowledge, capability, wisdom, life experience, everything that is you. And then here's Steve's, and then here's mine. And what ends up happening is this weird Venn diagram that ends up happening because we have some overlapping things, and outside of what we all commonly know. You know by yourself, he knows by himself, I know by myself, and those things sometimes are the missing pieces to the puzzle that is the problem that you're sorting through.
Right.
And making that distinction that the problem isn't you, you are you, the problem is a situation, and the more people you have piling on top of sorting out that situation on your team, the better the outcome can be.
Okay.
That's not necessarily always the case, but if it's outside of your scope of life experience, knowledge, wisdom, whatever else, trying to figure it out in your head, you're just going to drive yourself fucking crazy. And it's counter what you want in the end, which is just at least peace.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Do you guys want the timeline of events, and maybe we can work through this? You guys want to talk about something else?
No, I'm game,
All I'm
man.
going to say is last week, our whole episode started because I literally, even just before we started recording, I was like, this is what's going on in my world. And then it just kind of worked.
Yeah.
Update, real good.
Okay.
Update, real good.
Good. I like that.
So, yeah, no, let's do your thing.
Okay, so
Let's play with it.
Timeline of events. December 23rd, my fiance moves out of the house. We officially break up. She moves out. Now, because of that, the custody with my son, we have him on a 9-to-5 schedule. I had him on a 9-to-5 schedule. So my ex would have him or his mother would have him for 9 days. I would have him for 5, right? So because of the breakup with my fiance, my son was feeling hurt. Obviously, he's going through a bunch of things. He's probably confused.
Because he has a relationship with this other person.
Exactly, right? So, and she's still in his life. Now, I came to the conclusion with his mother that, instead of him coming to my place on the days he's supposed to, I'll just go visit him at her place until he's more mentally stable or doesn't hate me, quote unquote hate me, right? Because he blames me for the breakup. He blames me for bad decisions, shit like that, right? Now, the issue I'm finding now is when I speak with my son, he seems happy, jovial, still love you, dad, all this stuff, right? But what I'm getting from my ex and what I'm getting from his mother is that your son is scared of you. Your son doesn't like you. Your son doesn't want to go over to your house. All right. If you're a father and you hear somebody say that your son is saying these things about you, this affects you more than it. For me personally, affected me more than anything I've ever felt. I was in a ball of tears on the bathroom floor yesterday.
It cuts deep.
Right? Like just now I'm choking up right now talking about it, right? It hurts.
Yeah.
So, I know I have to give my son space, but I also don't want to, I don't know if there's scheming behind the scenes, if my ex, his mother wants to take me to court to get full custody now. I don't know what's going on, and I think that's what scares me most. I know my son's going to come around eventually. I'm not worried about that. Of course, I'm worried about his well-being, but I'm worried about this situation moving forward.
That's uncertainty, bro. And first off, honestly, man, like that's really tough to say. And this is, in my opinion, why we're doing this show, is because there's a bunch of people who are going through shit who are not brave enough to say that. So that's fucking very cool, very fucking cool of you, right? So don't be choking up, don't be doing anything. You're doing fucking awesome. When you're uncertain about anything, you just, like, I know for me, if I don't know what's happening, or if I'm emotionally invested in something and I don't know what the result is, or if something's out of my control, it's so easy for my brain to just take over and say, we're going a million miles a minute. Here's the worst possible outcome. Here's how it's going to happen. Here's what people are saying. And then there's this huge web of believable, conceivable shit that might happen.
Plausible that's going on.
Because I've just said somewhere along the line, this is a possibility. Do you know what else is a possibility? Literally anything but that.
Yeah.
That's one of a billion possibilities.
Yeah,
That's one of a billion. They could be, okay, your son could just be, I don't know how to handle this. There was 2 people in my life on these days. Now there's just one. He just went through a breakup.
So the solution I offered, not really a solution, but kind of an interim, is, fine, I'll go visit him on the weekends at his mother's place. And I said, you know what, can we look into counseling for him, right? For not only him, but myself as well. I've realized that, through everything that's gone on over the last 2 years with myself, has been so many big changes that I'm not sure I was mentally prepared to handle everything I took on. So I'm feeling...
Are you ever, though?
I don't think so. And here's the thing. This is why I say that.
And isn't that the point?
That is the point.
Here's why I'm saying that. Is because all the things I've been doing have been almost taking away time from my son. I know he feels a way about the podcast and everything else I do digitally and Symmetry and all this stuff, right? He feels a way about it because he feels it takes away time from him. But I know his feelings are coming from a point of my ex's point of view because she felt a way about it, right? And I know things might have been said in his earshot where he's like, you know, you're spending all your time on your podcast, or I hate your podcast, all you do is all this stuff, right? So for me, I'm looking at it like, okay, well, if he's upset at the podcast, cool, shut the podcast down. But then I'm looking at something like, I created this thing over 3 years, and I don't want to let it go.
There's a
hierarchy of things I love.
Here's a solution
You know what I
for you. So here's a solution for you, and this is why we talk about shit. It's cool because you're assuming you're assuming that he has a negative connection to your work that you do.
Right.
Right. That's an assumption.
He's told me that. He's told me that.
So now, instead of figuring out, okay, how do I choose between one or the other? How do you involve him in some capacity to make him have a positive connection to it?
I've tried to have him even come on to the podcast with me. He recorded an intro for me. I use it all the time. Like, there's a bunch of things I've done to try to incorporate him into what I'm doing as well, right? And I think there was more of a connection with my ex and him while I was recording a podcast or whatever, that he didn't want to record with me. I'm okay, cool. That's
cool.
fine.
Yeah.
But now that the breakup has happened, you know, I think he doesn't want to go over because he's like, oh, you're just going to spend all your time in the studio.
So you need to just show him that that's not always the case.
And here's the problem, is that my ex and his mother aren't allowing that to happen because they say he doesn't want to come to my place. So, and now it's 3 against 1, right? The mother of my son, her husband, and my ex. 3 people, 3 adults that are not going against me. But,
bro, one thing that happens. Sorry to interrupt you. As guys, we can get ganged up on, and it takes time to just do the little things daily or weekly that just rebuild trust. And even like I don't know, but I'm sure there's a sense from you where it's like, I wasn't the one that broke this trust. However, the responsible thing to do for guys or girls is be a part of the responsible solution, which means if there is an opportunity to just, it might not have been your fault. Or breakups are never anybody's one-term fault unless you're cheating or something like that, right? Oftentimes it's a combination of a bunch of different things that are just have piled up. That being said, in this situation, take advantage of the opportunity to go hang out with him there. They just do the things for a little bit, right? It's been that was a month and a half ago, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this whole conversation that we're having, your son hates you and all that shit. This happened last night.
Okay,
that was a conversation last night. So that's when I said.
Was that a conversation between you and your son, or was that a conversation between you and your
mother.
ex?
Me and my son's mother, and then afterwards, like right off the phone, you guys know me. I'm sure the audience knows me as well. When I speak aggressively, right? I'm very animated when I speak, right? I get my voice is automatically projecting, and it almost seems, if I'm on the phone and I'm talking, I get a little hyper. It seems like I'm yelling, right? I can understand that, right? If I raise my voice, and this is the thing, is I got a little animated on the phone with his mother, and I was talking loudly. I don't think I was yelling. Right, but she took it as you're yelling, and I had to say, "Listen, I'm not yelling. I'm not even upset. I'm
this
just
is a
trying to
tool
get my point across."
That somebody with a narcissistic tendency or narcissistic personality has. It's called gaslighting. It's when they take what you do and turn it into something really, really bad, and then they use that really, really bad thing to manipulate you because you don't perceive yourself as bad, but they want you to, so that you become less than and you submit to. Now, I'm not implying that that's the case. But from what I've observed, and from what I hear, it sounds really similar to something in that realm. One thing that helped me when I was going through this situation, because me and my ex had a really toxic relationship, and when we split up, the first thing that we thought about was where my son was going to go. And the day she left me, she took him with her. Now, I was a married man with a child and a wife. Which, right, to me, I am an equal player in this equation, but she can just take this person out of my life by her own accord. So I realized that I was up against something very, very powerful and very, very different than anything I've ever had to deal with in my entire life. And it caused me to do a lot of really, really deep thinking. The first thing that I did that changed the entire game for me was a major paradigm shift. Major, major, major. It was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. shifting from a competitive frame of mind. I am competing against her to have my son.
Yeah.
Right?
To a competitor, to a cooperative.
To collaborative.
Yeah.
And that collaboration changed the way that our interactions were.
Right.
But here's the thing. I had to genuinely, deeply, and authentically change that. Because there's a halfway point that I call the limbo, where you pretend like that's what's going on until you get your way, because you're just manipulating the situation.
Right.
Which is also a narcissistic tendency.
Yeah.
A trait that I have. And so I had to recognize that, and I had to actually be that thing, which meant I had to release all of my expectations of what the outcome was.
Yeah,
and I had to work for that objective, which meant consistently, over a long period of time, proving that I wasn't this version of myself anymore. I was this version of myself.
Right. And I don't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm curious to hear how that lands for you, because I got so much insight on this that I'd love to share, but
so there's
it's tiny bite-sized pieces.
My son's mother and I had a terrible history. We have a terrible history, right? And I still think she thinks I'm that person, mainly because, number one, we haven't spent any time together to realize that I'm a different
For her to
person.
learn or
at all.
meet the new version of you. Yeah.
When we do interact, even though, and trust me when I say this, I've taken the time to change the person I am. Yeah. I'm not combative with it, right? I'm trying to work in a cooperative sense. We've set up we have a group chat and everything. We try and do everything in there, right? It worked for a little bit, and then, anyways, whatever. But my goal is always to speak and just to find out the facts and then work a solution. That's always my goal, right? Yeah. Now my approach is, the way I approach things isn't how she likes to be approached.
Okay.
Right? So my way of doing things and her way of doing things don't mesh well. And this is where our issue comes from. Communication breaks down. You know, she thinks I'm digging into her because I used to be that guy that would just be a dick to everything, right? So I was an asshole to her, and I recognize that. I've apologized about it many times, and it just seems like it keeps going back to that, right? Like, you're still this guy. I every day I try to prove to not only myself but to the whole world that I'm not that person.
Right.
Do you think
I play a character on my podcast that is that person.
Right.
Right. But if you see who I am if you hear who I am on the podcast and you meet me in real life, you know I'm not that person.
Right.
Right. And like I said, I think the issue is there hasn't been enough time.
Time is a huge player in this, and just like Devin said, it's little bite-sized pieces consistently. I would honestly recommend, even if she's gaslighting you a little bit, right?
And I don't think she is.
Play into it a little bit. It's like, honestly, the first conversation is, hey, this is the goal for both of us, is for our kid to be number one, right? In your opinion, what is my best way to get there?
Right.
Just see what she says.
Right. And I mean, listen, I'm not gonna I'm not blameless in this. All right. I know over the past 4 years when I was with my ex, you know, I let my ex take over a bunch of the duties with him and this and that when he was with us because I was working. Right. So I would drive him to daycare in the morning or whatever, and she would pick him up or whatever else. Right. She would hang out with him on Saturdays if I had to work as well. So there was a split time because I wanted her to feel and I wanted them to have a connection. Right. But now it seems like that's biting me in the ass. Right. So the 4 years I just spent trying to let them have a connection. Now they have a stronger connection than me and my son do.
I don't think saying that's biting you in the ass.
There's a common thread here that's unfolding, and part of it is because your child, in spite of the fact that he's only been on planet Earth for, how old is he? 9 years?
He's 8 years old.
8 years. So 8 years of experience is not nearly enough to have to form solid, concrete, unobjective opinions of the way the world works. But you have enough that you're going to do that anyways. And so he's drawing his own conclusions based on the information that he gets, whether that comes from his mother, it comes from your ex, or it comes from you. He himself independently is piecing all of this information and drawing a conclusion. And that conclusion can be a million things. You don't know. So here's what happens. You're not who you think you are. You're not who he thinks you are. You are who you think he thinks you are. So you are trying to show up a certain way and perhaps missing what he's looking for.
I know that's the exact breaking point right there. you know,
And it's a tough responsibility to bear because now you have to really deeply analyze, well, am I showing up the way that I think I am?
No, and here's the thing. I know I'm not.
Then you have so much power then. Because with that knowledge, you can do shit differently now.
I came to the realization today, like, I know... You and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? About spending time with your kid and doing what they want to do and how to find something that you guys both like.
Yeah.
Right? For you, that's video games with your son.
Yeah, I love playing video games.
For me, that's baseball or playing video games or whatever. So when I go see him, because it's winter, we play video games or whatever, but I only see him for like an hour and a half on a Saturday or whatever it is, right? So I'm not getting now. So now I feel like not only am he's not coming over to my house, but I'm getting very, very restricted time with him. Right, and that's my doing. That's not his. That's not his mother's. That's not her husband. That's me doing it. Me showing up at 9 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 10:30, right? Because
it starts small.
Because it's uncomfortable for me to be in their house.
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable for me to be in their house.
Are you strong enough to get over that?
Yes, absolutely.
For the end goal.
Absolutely. And here's the thing: is that if what he's saying to his mother and my ex is different than what he's saying to me. And they're taking his word as gospel.
Okay, so question.
Instead of working it out with all of us in the room together.
Are you hearing what he says to them when you're not there?
No.
So you're hearing their version of what he says
100%.
Because they're the ones that are sharing it with you.
I ask him on the phone. I ask him, I'm like, are you scared of me?
Whether or not they would like to admit this, every piece of information we get as human beings, we filter through our shit.
Yeah.
We got our own shit, right? When I see you, I filter you through my life experience and I go, ting, this is Parnell, right? So when somebody else gets a piece of information, they hear it a certain way, they filter it through their shit and then go, ting, conclusion, and then bring said conclusion to you. Now here's what's even more wild about it is when they take their conclusion, you input that into you go through your database of shit and go, ting, my new conclusion. And because we suffer from this thing called confirmation bias, you have a belief that you're not a good enough dad. Somewhere buried under all of this shit, there is a belief that you have or hold that I'm not a good enough dad. And then when you get a piece of information that's even remotely close to that, it's like, perfect. Chink. Not a good dad. More information. Cool. Chink. Not a good dad. So you continue to search for those things. You don't do it on purpose. You don't do it consciously most of the time. Sometimes it happens accidentally. So here's the thing. Quality over quantity, first and foremost. The time that you spend with your son should be all 100% you proving that he is the most important fucking young man in your life. And then when you do that, you can check off the box, maybe I'm not such a bad dad.
You know what it is? I think I'm beating myself up over this because when my son was born, I remember how I grew up and how absent my dad was, not by choice because he was working. Right. I made a promise.
Dads suffer with that.
Yeah, I made a choice that I'm going to be a better father than my father was to me. Even though my father is fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. He just wasn't around as much, right? Yeah. So the way I grew up, I'm going, okay, to give my son the best life, I'm thinking I'm the guy that's got to be the breadwinner, right? I'm not thinking spend quality time with him. Right. Because that's the way I was raised. Now I realize I have to spend quality time with him. I have to do the things that he's interested in, not what I'm interested in. I can't browbeat him into believing what I believe. Right. He's going to eventually love what he loves and believe what he believes, regardless of what I think, right? Yeah. My issue is that I can't not work and I can't not spend time with him.
Right.
Right. So I'm in this vortex of self-hate, self-loathing, and guilt.
Is that serving you?
It's not serving me. And here's the problem: is that I know how to get out of it, but I can't get out of it.
If you know how to get out of it, then just get out of it.
That's the problem. I know how to get. I can't get out of it.
You don't want to get out of it because you're punishing yourself because you think you deserve it.
And check this out, bro.
This is what you think you deserve.
You just said,
I do think I deserve this. 100%. I think I deserve this.
You don't deserve it.
That belief. How do you shift
Your kid
that
doesn't
thinking?
deserve that. Your kid doesn't deserve that. Your kid deserves you to be there and be happy and love spending time with him. Your kid does not deserve a dad who doesn't like himself. That's the reality. That's the reality.
No, I understand
Also,
the
check
reality.
this out.
I understand.
Check this out.
Listen,
You were literally just said
it's
it.
fucking easy as fuck to sit here and say, listen, this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do. But I'm literally telling you, I know what I should do. I know I shouldn't feel this way.
No, but it's not
But
about
I cannot.
what you should and shouldn't do. It's about you examining for yourself why these beliefs exist. There's no should or shouldn't here.
Listen,
Why do these beliefs exist? Why do you believe that you need to suffer? Why do you believe that you're not good enough?
because everything good in my life happens after I suffer.
Okay.
That's the quality of a leader.
You got to walk
That's
through
what
the
happens
shit a
with
little
leaders.
bit.
That's how people become who they are. That's how people guide other people through life and become leaders, because they've gone through the shit and they've realized how to get out of that shit. And
So-
if they can't get out of that shit, then they're not a fucking leader.
So
They're
the
a follower.
shit that you're
I
in right
believe
now-
I'm a fucking leader,
Yeah.
which means I can go through all the shit I need to go through and work it out myself and be the better person on the other side.
Okay,
but
stop
I
you
need to
for
get
1
through the
second.
shit first.
You need to get
So
through the
the
shit
shit
first.
is a
However,
gift.
dude,
Yes.
you just said you know the way to get out of it. Another thing about the leader, right? 100% I agree with you. You are also going through shit to recognize that lesson, that you need to understand a problem in order to find the solution. You already just said you know the solution. You can do both. You can do both. The next quality about being a leader is saying, okay, this is what I need to do. I'm just gonna fucking do it. You know what to do. You don't need to walk through the shit.
And
If
I've
you-
already come to that conclusion. I've already come to the conclusion of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to get there.
Perfect.
Right? The issue now I'm finding, and this is actually some quite nuanced things, and I think a lot of people are probably going through this. Once you know the solution to something and you're in the solution phase, you're in the fixing the problem stage, right? Dealing with the emotions within that. Because there's a lot of things you can always dig down deeper into yourself and say, like, okay, this is what I need to do, and then be in that. And you don't know how long you're going to be in that phase, but you know you have to go through it, right? There's emotions that come up all the time, right? Good, bad, or otherwise. And there's a lot of people going through the shit right now, not only because of COVID, but because of a bunch of other things that are happening in their life. Loss of job, loss of family members, not being able to see their family. Maybe they don't have the funds
Addictions
for
and
whatever.
other
Addictions,
problems,
everything
yeah.
else, right? Abuse in the home, whatever it is, right? They're going through the steps to solve the issue, but there's emotions now. The emotions that come
And-
with that, right? Being broke as fuck, having $3 in the bank account or something, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
And there's a resistance to the emotion, right?
No, I love to feel the emotion. Give me the fucking emotion.
This is really good. This is really good. It's super powerful. So what happens is you feel sadness. Sadness washes over you, and it's not happiness. And we've been trained and programmed to believe that you shouldn't feel sad. And so you fight against it, and you look for ways to either distract yourself from feeling sad by getting high, doing drugs, drinking, going out powerlifting.
Glad you said that.
Finding tons of women to sleep with, whatever the thing is that you go to do to escape from that emotion doesn't ever actually deal with the emotion. So I kind of circle back to, you acknowledged that the adversities that you're facing currently, past, and in the future, those are gifts to you to become better, to become stronger, faster, more wiser. Have you taken time to express your gratitude for the gift that you've received?
I have not.
Have
And-
you taken a time to say thank you for this sadness?
No, because I'm still living in the sadness right now, and
It's fine.
I
It's good because you want it and you are enjoying it, but acknowledge that you want it and you're enjoying the sadness. You need the sadness so that when you move into the happiness, you have something to compare it to. You have something to show for it.
I'm in this stage where, I'm almost 40 years old. And this happens, probably with everybody every 10 years, especially, mid-20s, you think you have, or mid-teens, you think you have the world figured out. Mid-20s, you think you have the world figured out. Mid-30s, you think you have the world figured out. And every decade, you're like, I didn't fucking know shit.
I come to the
Right?
conclusion that we're never going to get it figured out.
Listen,
We've been humans for thousands of years.
It's weird. It's funny because I saw a meme the other day saying, the meme said, think about this for a second. Your children are watching children grow up as your parent, right? So the parent is growing up with the child, right? I never knew how to deal with my emotions before, hence being a drug addict in the past, right? So one of the things I had to really realize is how to deal and sit in the pain. I had to feel what I needed to feel to get
Yes.
past whatever you need to get past. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I know you don't really have much to offer to this conversation as far as like this child part goes.
Bro,
but
it's so cool. What I will just throw in is fucking, I didn't, when I called you out on that, by no means was it saying like, dude, I want to know everything about what you're going through right now.
Yeah.
However, that's so fucking healthy for everybody. I mean, me listening to this,
Yeah.
people, readers, or like listeners, to just say it's fucking
And
K
listen.
to everybody feels shit, man. Everybody goes through
listen,
shit.
I called Devin at noon today, and I said, "Listen, man, I'm not going to be there tonight. Do the show without me." And he said, "Why? What's going on?" I'm like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. Right? And I'm at work at this time, and I'm working on whatever. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not feeling it. I don't want to do it. It's a leadership show, and I don't want to fucking show up and be a puddle of goo.
Sometimes being a leader involves being a puddle. And honestly, for me, I have been putting out fires all fucking week. And there have been times where throughout the week, and I've been working with my staff on issues that have just come up. And it's just like, shit either comes in waves or it's not there at all.
I want to just get one point across
Yep.
real quick. I hope people have people in there, and I hate doing this I hope there's people that have people in their life like Devin. I hate fucking growing him every.
He's been really good. He's been really good today.
Devin, when I called him at noon today, and I told him I'm not going to do it. He's like, the show's just not the same without you. We can't do it. We'll just push it till Monday. But I think it'd be really good. I'm like, if you need the time, go ahead and take it. But I think it'd be really good to come and have the conversation, have a chat, because that's what you need. And I thought about it, and I was like, I don't know. I think I told you 4 or 5 times, I'm not coming, I'm not doing it, this and that. And he's like, you know what, man, I think, first of all, he said, you know, he's like, you need to have this conversation. I think it'd be good for you, it'd be healthy for you. Not only that, you're going to disappoint Steve and myself. I said, fuck you. I said, I'll see you at 7 o'clock. Right? Me, I can't, if I'm committing to something, I'm not going to, I can't just blow it off. Right? And now that I'm here and talking about it, yeah, it fucking hurts. But it feels good at the same time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like,
is it too early to say I told you so?
No, I'm not. Listen, and we haven't solved this issue, by the way. I'm not.
We're 32 minutes into this.
I'm not. And by the way, this is.
Issue's not solved. The issue's never fucking
issue's
solved.
never solved.
Because as soon as you solve the one issue, there's a second issue.
Right.
It always happens like that.
The reason I'm saying this is because all this stuff that we've said today, I've realized this before I walked in here. I know all this stuff, right? But it's nice to have a refresher from people that also understand.
Because we didn't say anything. You found all the answers yourself.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. I know I can find the answers. I know they're there.
Yeah.
I just needed to get through it.
You need to get through it.
Enough about my bullshit. Tell me what your
And
fires,
some
man.
of the times, fucking guess what? Leaders go through shit. And
Leaders
I'm
are
gonna be real about it. Leaders go through more shit than
On purpose.
non-leaders.
Exactly.
Because they say,
What did we say before this, Steve? Before we got on this fucking podcast, before Parnell showed up, oh, I had all these fires to put out. Oh, that's crazy. I had all these fires to put out too. What did we say?
And we said, honestly, and then the conversation is why did I choose this? And the answer is because it's better than the alternative.
Absolutely.
And honestly, all fucking week, I've been putting out fires. I've been putting out fires everywhere I turn, all over the place. And it's as soon as one problem gets solved, then there's a new problem that replaces it. And everything just seems to compound. And there's been times this week where it's like literally everywhere I turned is a fire that needs to be put out.
Right.
And this afternoon, there was a shift, and there was just a moment where it's like, okay, literally everything that I can do to solve every problem here, I have done. Does that mean everything's solved? No. Fuck no. Right? The world could still be burning. However, do I have any more control to do anything more than I've done? No. And at that point, it's like, okay, so this is the reality. This is where we've gotten to. At this point, it's either you wait for shit to get sorted out, right? You are waiting for responses. You're waiting for replies. There's literally nothing else that I could have done.
What's the quote? That God quote? God grant me the character to...
Don't wish for less problems. Wish to be stronger to handle them, or something like that.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
Grant me the solace or whatever to do with
Grant
things I
me
can.
the courage to change the things that I can.
And the patience to change the things I can't.
For
To
sure.
deal with the things
Bro,
that I
and
can't.
that's just it.
The something to accept the thing, and the wisdom to accept the things I can't.
Right.
No. The courage to change
fucking
things
looking
I
at it, fuck all
can.
you.
The strength to change things I can, the courage to accept things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference.
It's a totally different quote than I had thought about.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
And anyway, so once that happened, once I got to that place where it's like, okay, I've done everything that I could possibly do, right? At this point right now, it's out of my hands, it's in the world's hands, right? If I had more control, if I could do something else, great, I can do that. There's no sense to stress about it. And as soon as I came to that realization, it was honestly like there was just a lull over everything. I'm like, oh, okay, we can actually move forward now. And then at
Doesn't
the
a part
end
of
of
you
the
feel
day,
kind of bored? You're like, oh fuck.
at the end of the day, I sent a mass text to every single person on my team, and it was just gratitude, and it was just an acknowledgement. Hey, just wanted to recognize, I know everybody's had, some stuff come up this week. There's been a lot of fires. Everything has felt like a battle. I appreciate all of you for coming together, right? And facing it and fighting it and working together to find solutions, right? And there's just appreciation, right? And that is where shit can grow from, because once you've addressed it, the problem comes when you have fucking 5 or 6 things that need to get addressed right now, right? Some things you don't plan for. There's no way to plan for it. When you have fires coming up, face it, do what needs to get done. Sometimes it's a tough conversation. Sometimes you got to say no. Sometimes you got to hurt somebody's feelings. Sometimes you got to break somebody down. Sometimes you need to fire somebody. Sometimes you need to tell somebody they can't have what they want. It's just fucking the way it works.
And by the way, if you don't attack the problems when they come, you're going to end up with bigger problems down the road. Hence the situation I'm in now.
And if it's an ex or a client or whoever the fuck it is, they are going to be upset. I'll tell you, they're going to be upset. However, hurting someone's feelings or telling somebody no.
How do you peel back?
And then saying, this is what's happened.
There's a way
this
to
is the way we're going
strengthen
to handle it. And that's the reality. You know what? There's no other way around it. Cool.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you build those fucking calluses so that when the fires come up next time, you're way more equipped.
Way better.
Do you know how
at
you
it.
get to the top?
You get
better at
Yep.
handling problems.
That's
all it is.
Practice handling problems. And
Leaders literally just put fires out all day. I think we've said this a million times, and we put ourselves in those positions because not only do we want the strength ourselves to deal with those situations, but we want to take it on for the world or our team or whatever's going on, right?
Yeah.
As leaders, we work as business owners and as leaders, we work for the people that we are employing.
100%.
So we take that mindset into the personal life and say, you know what? As a leader, I'm going to take on the struggles of everybody else, my friend, my peer group, right? But I mean, maybe not solve those issues, but take it on and say, you know what? I'm gonna attack this as well, and to see if I can gain some character from that.
And you're going to inspire your friends to say,
Exactly.
hey, you know what? If you don't want to come, don't come. However, this is something that you should do.
This is the problem. He
people
fucking knows how
need
to talk
you.
to me, and I fucking hate it.
No, that's just
people
the
need you.
quality of a
No.
good friend and a good leader.
Fuck
That's what
him,
it is.
first of all. Okay?
This is crazy, man. I saw something about the timeline of our lives. All we actually have is this moment right here. And this is crazy because as cliche as that saying is, no, we really just have this moment. Anything that happened before this moment is a memory in our minds, right? It's
Which
not
is distorted.
real. It's a memory. And yeah, it's distorted. It's not even accurate. It's gone through your bullshit filters and now it becomes this filter. Now
it becomes a whole other problem that you're not even thinking about because you filtered it.
And it echoes forward so long. When I was a kid, my brother, he fell through a window, cut his hand almost completely off.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He was I remember my mom had him all wrapped up and with this cloth and he was bleeding out. And my mom says, you got to call 911. Now, in my head, a long time ago, a conversation that I had with my dad was, your mom freaks out about little things all the time. If something goes on, you should probably call me. Okay?
So you called your dad.
So I asked my mom, I'm like, are you sure I should call 911? And she's like, yeah, do it. And I'm like,
His fucking hand is hanging off.
yeah. I'm like,
Call the
okay, Mom,
fucking
I'm
doctor.
going against all my good judgment here because in my head, I should call my dad.
Yeah.
But I'm going to call 911. And so I did that and everything came together. My brother's fine. 14 hours of microsurgery. They still use
Now-
that video to this day for training.
Now
other
he has a hook
doctors.
for a hand. We get it.
Now, get this
Cool.
though.
Cool.
My mom's recollection of those events were, I said, what's the number to 911? Which is not what happened. But because so many times she's recalled this fake memory.
Are you sure?
through filter.
Are you sure?
Man,
and
I would swear on my mother's own
and
life.
she would swear on her life that hers
Right?
is the right way.
So that's the point that I'm making. Regardless of it, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. What exists is right now. Also, anything we look ahead in the future, and I'm sure you do a lot of this, anything you look ahead in the future, also doesn't equally exist because you're just thinking it through. You're just looking at possibilities. Now, this is a really great tool when, let's say, you're about to do something that could potentially be dangerous. You can have the foresight to go, jumping off this bridge without something attached to me to save my life before I splat on the ground is a bad idea. You play it out, right? So here's what's happening in your situation. You're getting filtered information that's not real. It's just filtered information, and it's up to you to go, I don't think so.
And you can
And
do
that's
this,
done.
bro. And you can do
stand
this.
firmly in your place, knowing my actions right now reflect my true belief of what I want. And then, when you look in the future, there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of possibility for disaster. The disaster is the relationship you have with your son is shit. He hates you. You're a fucking old, angry fucking man. And that's a horrible thing to think about.
Cool podcast.
But
though.
it's also imaginary. It doesn't exist. It's not there.
Yeah.
So just as equally as it's not there, so is the other possibility that you're actually a fantastic father,
You know
an
what's funny?
amazing fucking role model with tons of knowledge and wisdom to share with your son, and
you just need to show up.
You know what's funny
it
about
doesn't
this
exist
conversation?
either. So today, right now, in these moments, the things that you're doing, what you're doing is you've actually left an amazing legacy for your son, because this video is going to live on. Right? Indefinitely, for as long as the internet exists. When
Right.
your son gets of the age that he wants to know what his dad was up to, and you go, you want to know how hard it is being a fucking dad? Check this out, son. And that'll be the day that his son is born. I remember sitting in the fucking waiting room of Olive Garden for our dinner the day my son was born. We were bringing food back to my wife. And I was like, dude, this is so fucking surreal. I don't know what's happening. And dude, it just fucking hit me like a freight train. I looked up at him and all I could remember was all the shit I put my dad through. Because I was a fucking horrible child. All the shit I put my dad through, and I looked up at him and immediately fucking broke out into tears. And all I could say was, this is gonna be hard, isn't it? And sure as shit, it's been really fucking hard. Every fucking day's been really hard, but it's worth it, because when my son looks at me and sees me the way I see him see me, that's all I need. I don't give a fuck what anybody else says. That's all I need.
1,000,000%. I want to point something out to you and Steve as well, is that I didn't realize how many people I had that I could lead on, right? It's interesting, especially going through, let's go back to the breakup in December. You know, and I'm not sure if this is just people that listen to the podcast or whatever else, but I was fielding emails for probably 2 days. I had probably 100 people reach out that have my number, right? No, we're not talking social media reaching out. We're talking actually text me or call me. Say, hey, are you okay? Can I do anything for you? Do you need anything? And then the conversation you just had, that whole little blast blurb you did, was the exact same thing my friend told me last night when I called him, because I knew he was going through some similar issues. And he said, this is all in your head. You know who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And you know what you've done as a father. Eventually, your son is going to realize, no matter what happens, your son is going to realize who you are, whether that's good or bad. He's going to realize this. So you have to not let him make the decision, but be there and show up and do what you need to do to gain back whatever you need to gain back, so that your son realizes that again.
Yeah.
So it reinitiates that in his brain and reactivates that part of him that goes, I love my dad, I want to go see him. Right? When it's funny you talk about how much shit you put your dad through. And when your son was born, I almost went through the same thing. When my son was born, it was an emergency C-section. We were at the hospital, luckily, but it was an
that's
emergency
tough.
C-section, right? And so I wasn't allowed in the room. I was behind the glass, and I was freaking out, right? And then obviously, successful delivery, and they brought me into the room, and I held my son. When I held my son for the first time, I broke down, and I realized what a fucking shitty kid I was, and what a shitty human I was even then at the time.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, I'm not good enough for this kid. He hasn't done anything. And I'm going to put him into my shit.
And strange how that's echoed forward into the future.
And now I'm looking at it going, I can't let my son's going to know everything I've done in the past. He's going to know. I'm not going to hide anything from my son, but I don't want him to go down that path. So for him not to go down that path, I have to change who I am as a person. I have to change my interactions with him. I have to change who I'm actually dealing with on a personal level, as friends, as people in my life. There's so many people I don't talk to anymore, not because I don't want to, but because I can't.
Right.
And I say can't
because the cost.
I say can't because I put it in my head that those people will cost me way too much with my son.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, I think this episode is a great way to look at, guys, if you think you have nobody to talk to, there's more people than you think there is, right? If you would just put yourself out there and let people know what's going on with you, then there's going to be more references for you to draw from, just like you were saying at the beginning, right? You're going to draw all these in and be able to make a decision. I don't think guys and men, no matter whether you're 60 or whether you're 12, it's tough for guys because there's a stigma to not reach out, right? There's a stigma
how
to
it
say
looks to other people.
how it looks. Like, people are scared to be like, oh, he's a pussy, or this guy, fuck this guy. I don't care about him. He's an emotional little bitch. Whatever you want to say, right? But to be real leaders and to be real men. And I posted this on, I think on Facebook, and I said, what defines a man, right? And I also put below it, save the jokes. I'm in no fucking mood, or whatever the fuck I put, right?
Yeah.
And there was all the answers were pretty much the same, but they never hit the nail on the head.
Right.
And obviously what defines a man is how the man defines himself, right? Not what the outside world does. Because if you're letting the outside world dictate who you are, then you're not a man.
Right.
Right? You have to find it within yourself to realize who you are. You have to look back, first of all, take ownership for your bullshit.
It's those beliefs and values that have been installed in you over time. And this is what it takes to, as we said right at the beginning, living in the fire, man. Mm-hmm. If you're going to live in the fire, which we don't have a choice. The whole world's on fire, guys. It's that living in the fire and knowing truly. I don't care what you think you know about me. Mm-hmm. Right?
I know who I know.
I know what I know about me. I've been through this set of experiences.
I've lived my whole life with me.
And here I am. And are you best friends with the guy in your head, or are you enemies with the guy in your head? Because those...
Depends what day is it.
Right? How do you... So when you're going through your day-to-day shit, do you perceive yourself to be friends with the guy in your head, or are you...
I'm always friends with the guy in my head for the most part. I mean, there's times, and honestly, the last week I have, and it's fucking hilarious you saying this right now, because in the last week I have made a decision for some fucking reason to revert back to lone wolf and do everything myself. And I built to fucking shut everybody out this fucking week. I shut everybody out all week. And then I've had people reach out and they're like, hey, I haven't heard from you. What's up? Are you okay? What do you need? Like, how can I show up for you? Right? And I was like, oh, and at the time, I'm like, fuck, like I don't deserve this. I'm fine, right? And then I'm like, oh, I'm lone wolfing shit. I'm doing that. And then I'm sitting here and I'm like, you're like, yeah, I'm lone wolfing shit, and I'm recognizing that wolves hunt in packs.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck?
Yeah.
The lone wolf dies,
hunts in
guys.
packs.
Yeah, the lone wolf is that straggler that gets killed, man. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that, because I realized that that's what I was doing. As soon as all this stuff came in at once, and let me tell you, all yesterday was one hell of a fucking night. And when all this came in, I instantly reverted back to 2005 Parnell. The guy was fuck everybody, fuck everything. I'm who I am, and I'm gonna handle this shit, and I'm gonna handle it right fucking now.
It sounds like me for the last week.
Right?
It doesn't work.
The biggest thing that I did yesterday was shut the fuck up and listen to the person that was there with me. The person that was there with me not only gave me strength by showing me her character, but gave me strength in helping me to realize who I was, right? Because sometimes when you're put into these emotional states, you don't think straight, you don't think clearly. And you need somebody there to say, listen, you're not that person. Yes, you can be that person, but you're not. You are this person because you've proven to me and the world over the last 3 years that you're this person. Don't go back to that other person that got into this and got into this and got into this, and look where that ended up. And I was so grateful just at that to say, so I've never had anybody in my life like that. And now I find that there's too many people like that in my life. Even though you can't have too many people, right? Because I have this mentality of fuck everybody, fuck everything, and I'm going to do this myself.
Your soul, your spirit, your essence, your energy, whatever the fuck you call it, has called for those things in your life right now. And that's why they're here.
Listen, man, I don't know how much bad shit can happen to one person in 2 months, but this is probably the limit. I don't... If one more bad things happen to me, and let's be honest here, guys, and this was a fleeting... I want you guys to understand this was a fleeting thought, and I had to feel that first to get past it. I had, and 2 or 3 times over the last 24 hours, I've had this thought of, it would be better for my son if I wasn't in his life. I should send a text about everything that went on to the group chat and off myself. And that's why I prefaced this it was a fleeting thought. Because I want to get to the deepest part of the emotion.
Your imagination has to explore as an option.
Right?
Yeah.
Like when I tell you I feel that emotion, I literally go there and I want to feel it. I want to think of the worst thing that could possibly happen and then be okay with that.
Right.
Because if I'm okay with the worst possible situation, everything else that happens is going to be better than that.
Right.
And I can be satisfied. As satisfied as possible, I guess.
Right.
in
You
this
know,
situation,
it's an interesting spin on.
And so, and I don't want to scare anybody. You guys know that if it ever comes down to that, I'm going to reach out. I'm not that person, right? But I wanted to let you guys know that I was literally at that spot.
And I'm glad you were able to go there and then choose otherwise. And it's like, I'm fucking nerd Steve over here. I'm picturing Star Wars when Obi-Wan and Darth Vader or Anakin, I guess, are fighting. And Obi-Wan is like, you became the one thing that you swore to protect us from. Right? So I'm glad you recognize that, because you doing that and sending that text and doing that, you immediately just, after everything you said is the most important, you would have just said choosing out of that event.
Yeah, that would have been, to me, that's giving up.
Yeah.
To me, that's saying, my son is not worth my time. That's saying my son's life doesn't mean fuck all to me.
Which is not true.
That's not true. Right? So I had, like I said, I had to get into that spot.
Right.
But most people won't go there. Or if they go to that spot, then they flip the switch the other way.
Is he worth fighting for?
1,000,000%. You know what I mean? And that's what it was.
Worth
That's what it was.
Struggling for. Is he worth surviving for?
And here's the thing.
Those are all important questions. And I'm not specifically maybe asking you.
No, I mean, this is great.
Listening to this.
Those are literally the 3 questions that I asked myself after getting into this state.
And imagine what it would feel like for him if that was your decision.
Yeah.
What that leaves with him. Oh, I'm not worth fighting for.
Yep.
I'm not worth struggling for. I'm not worth anything. I'm a shit person. And then for the rest of his life, he carries that with him.
See, you and I started a company based on helping others.
Yeah.
We've
at the core
of us, we've always said we don't care how much money we make. If we can bring value to somebody and not have any expectation of return.
Yeah.
Right? I took that philosophy and I applied it to the situations. Right? How can I bring value without any kind of expectation of reciprocation?
Yeah.
And I've realized that the things that I'm doing, mostly over the last 1.5 years, have served me.
Right.
Have served my needs. Have served... They've served me to a point that wasn't serving me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It becomes poisoned.
Well, yeah, over the time, you think you're helping yourself, but really, you're having these selfish characteristics only puts me in a further back state because I'm not helping anybody, so it doesn't give them the will to want to help me.
Right.
Right? I'm being selfish. I'm holding on to this. This is mine. You can't have it.
Yeah.
Right? Realizing that, like this all boils back to, I understand why the relationship broke up. I understand why there was so much shit going on. I understand why my son hates me now. I understand all the shit. I understand everything going on. I understand that I wasn't not at fault. Right? I understand the actions I took. I understand the steps I need to correct those actions. In the midst of it now, all this other shit comes up. So, you know, like going back
nobody
to
likes to look in the mirror.
Nobody likes to look in the mirror, right?
Sometimes you gotta.
You
And
have
I think
to.
that's one of those things I think, you know, we do a lot as us 3 specifically to realize who we are and how we can further affect people in a positive way.
I would say that there's a lot of people out there. I would say that the 3 of us are overly critical.
Yeah.
And not only of ourselves, but each other.
Almost critical to a fault.
100%. Yeah. You know, there's been times, especially for me, where, you know, I've talked to both of you on a one-on-one basis, and both of you guys are yelling at me for stupid shit.
And it's funny, dude, because when you say that you need to find you need to find the worst outcome, the worst thing. Like when you're in the dark and you don't know where you're going and you're struggling, and when you finally find a wall, when you finally find something, then you reorientate yourself. And at that point you can say, okay, cool, I now know where I'm at.
Yeah,
right?
because you have to find the wall. You have to find the.
You have to find it. You have to find it. And then like picture this. If you're in a pool, you're swimming, and in the middle of the pool you decide that you need to change directions. You're like, fuck, I'm going the wrong way. I need to change directions on the fly. How difficult is it to be full tilt swimming one way and then have to flip around and then gain momentum the other way versus you have your back against the wall and you can kick.
Right. And that's a great point. It was funny because the whole time I was talking to Devin on the phone today and him convincing me to come up here, I was like, vulnerability is strength. When you're being vulnerable, it's coming from a place of strength, not weakness. And I kept reiterating that to myself. And I actually had to make myself believe it. Like, I know I can say it. You can say anything you want and not believe it, right?
I can say I'm Superman, but and when I jump off a building,
you're gonna die. Yeah, you're gonna hit the ground.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. But I had to go back and I had to think about who I was as a person and where my character is now and who I was 15 years ago. And do I really want to be that fucking person? Nah, I'm good. And I'm so happy, and I fucking hate you, Steve. I'm so happy I'm here tonight talking about this.
Can I say I told you so now?
No, you can't. Fuck you and your socks, cocksucker. It's not that the problem's solved. It's that I'm able to get the emotion out and able to express it with people that I trust and I love. And I wanted you guys to.
Do you want to know the coolest part that you haven't even fucking clued into yet? Because you were courageous enough to be vulnerable and talk about what you have going on this podcast. Somebody out there, and I don't know who, somebody out there is going to hear this and recognize that they need to man the fuck up and get real about what they're going through. And who knows? Who knows what other people are going through? You could have saved a life today.
That's honestly, that's the reason I started the podcast.
Because people look up to you. And when you're able to be vulnerable and say, hey, nobody's fucking perfect, everyone has shit going on, right? There's a lot of people that look up to you. So if you are able to do this, they're able to do this, and you probably saved a life today.
Have you considered the problem solution matrix?
Devin's got cool words for everything.
Watch this though.
I think he makes shit up on the fly. I really do.
He's good at it though.
I guess so,
I believe it. I'm so gullible to
Right?
begin with.
Man,
This
fuck
guy
this
comes
guy.
out here and strings 3 big words together. I'm like,
Whoa, dude!
The problem is only
I hate that I'm really smart. Like I'm a fucking genius. Okay, I'm fucking smart. But when he comes up with 3-syllable words,
problem solution matrix,
Right?
and has it air mapped out and everything.
No, but it's
crazy hot scale.
yeah, he's gonna bring out his fucking laptop and be like,
Let me
"Look,
get
here
my
you go."
whiteboard here.
Jesus Christ, man! Like,
It's a
fuck
ridiculous.
you
A
and
problem
your
is only
intelligence.
a problem for as long as you perceive it's a problem. When you stop
Can
perceiving
confirm,
it's a
decided
problem,
that my shit wasn't a problem today, and everything solved itself within half an hour.
the problem doesn't have to be a problem until it's a solution now. And starting today, in this moment, in this second, in this breath that I'm taking, it's no longer a problem. It's a solution, and that's a paradigm shift. It's super deep. It's super hard.
Right.
But the second you make it,
there's something
you
there.
free
That's
yourself
what she
from
said
it.
there somewhere.
While you're
Yeah.
saying that, I want everybody to go back and listen to this episode again. There's not one time any of us have referred to the shit I'm going through as a problem. Not
Right.
once. We've all referred to it as the situation.
Yeah.
There's a situation that has to be solved. There's a circumstance that has to be solved. It was never a problem. There's never a problem. It's only solutions. You heard that adage a whole bunch of times, right? So yeah, stupid ass adage, but it makes sense in the long run.
Yeah.
There's no problems. There's only solutions. Figure out where the fuck you are and attack that bitch.
How long do you want it to be a problem?
Right.
Versus when does solution kick in?
Right.
And that is second by second, moment by moment, in the present, accountability to your belief system and what you bring into the world based on that belief system. Do you believe that you're a good father?
Are you asking a question?
If yes,
It's rhetorical, Farley.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, this got to be rhetorical.
but I need that to set in. Do you believe you're a good father?
Half the time, yes.
Okay, let's make that half the time 51% of the time then.
Because that's all it takes.
that's
It's just a
all
little
it
bit.
takes.
My 10% shift, buddy.
That's all it takes. Is
Listen,
that
I say
second
this-
you make that shift.
I think I say this every fucking episode. 10% shift, 1% shift in your life over time
adds up
to fucking huge.
And that's what it is. And I
Fucking
think we can end it there, man. So I mean,
That's how
this
you live in the
is-
fight.
Yeah, man.
This episode was really cool. So thanks again, for everything going through. I think it's really cool how we can incorporate stories, and I really hope that there's some value getting added to people there.